we also know what is at stake for this team, especially considering some of the qualifiers that have seen inconsistent performances as well as results. But let's start with Sierra Leone because this is a very big task for Nigeria. They've not defeated Sierra Leone in their last 3 games. Most famously, there was that 4-goal lead that was squandered by Nigeria right here at home before the Sierra Leoneans stormed back to force a draw 4-4 that ended. What do you think Nigeria can do differently this time around against Sierra Leone, considering the recent records against them?
Well, Sam, I think you mentioned something very important, the history of these two teams. And that just tells you how highly intense this game would be. Because for Sierra Leone, they also know the opportunity to qualify for the Nations Cup is still well within their reach with 2 games to go. Now, Guinea-Bissau have already taken the lead ahead of Nigeria. So the Super Eagles also know what's important as it concerns this game. But I believe that there's a lot of confidence around this team. The players themselves have been able to, well, come together, realize that there have been slip-ups here and there. The game against Guinea-Bissau in Abuja, and Nigeria lost by a goal to 0. That will act as a reminder. And also Guinea-Bissau going ahead of the Super Eagles. But everything has been good this week. They trained at the Obalaji Johnson Park, that stadium in Onika, Lagos. The artificial turf will be the same sort of ground the Eagles will play the game. It's in Monrovia, that's in Liberia, because Sierra Leone cannot get the clearance to play games in their own home. Now, everything we've seen from the manager, the words coming out of his mouth, the thoughts of the players, there's a lot of confidence. I listened to Taiwo Awoniyi this week, and you could tell the optimism everyone is sharing about what they need to do, how they need to go about it. And you just know, that the Super Eagles know what's at stake, and they need to get this result before they go into the final game.
Okay, looking at the players now, we have to talk about the players. You mentioned Taiwo Awoniyi. We know Victor Osimhen as well as that. Most Nigerian players did have a very good season. Talk about Samuel Chukwueze winning, the best African player of the season award right there in Spain. We'll talk about, Victor Osimhen, the highest goal scorer in the Italian Serie A, leading his team to, the Italian title, talking about the Scudetto. Among other players, we can go on and mention how phenomenal Nigerian players were this past season. How much of an influence will this have on the game in terms of the impact, considering the firepower Nigeria has, especially offensively?
I think you can't deny the influence of these players in terms of what they've achieved this season. And that obviously will form the bane of what we expect. Now, you mentioned Victor Osimhen, top scorer in the Serie A. He's someone who's taken the world by storm this year. And everywhere he's gone, locally and internationally, there's the fear factor that Osimhen is running down at you. And I feel that against a Sierra Leone defense, that would play a key part. But for Osimhen to get the goals, for Awoniyi to get the goals, he needs the support cast of the Super Eagles playing their A game. And we've got players, like you said, Chukwueze, one of them, Ademola Lookman. He's also had a great season with Atalanta this year. These are the sort of players who need to step up and be counted. Moses Simon as well. These are players who'll be in and around the national team. But what we need most importantly is team, the word called a team. 11 of them thinking like one person. And that's the only way you can beat Sierra Leone because, like you said, Sierra Leone are a very difficult team. I think we've got the personnel. There's experience in defense. There's experience in midfield. Alex Iwobi, this year has been a revelation for him at Everton, despite all their struggles, right? So I do believe that we've got the personnel. I do believe that we've got that Team Nigeria spirit to always go and achieve. I think the most important thing is to get the results. However it comes, we don't need to play the most prettiest football. We just need to go there, break the Sierra Leoneans, get the result. I know that the last game will be a formality.
Okay, you said earlier that, we need to have a team in place, a team that plays like, a group of people, not just 11 different players. And that's also been, some concerns in the past that these players play so well at their club sides, but when they come to the national team, that chemistry isn't there. Now, that those who would say this stops at the bulk of the coach. And that brings me to my next question. Jose Peseiro, his future has been, up in the air in recent times. There have been several speculations linking him out of the job and bringing someone else in. How much of an impact will this have in terms of preparation going into this game? That's one. Then two, how do you think he should approach the game against Sierra Leone, considering they've been a difficult or tough nut to crack in recent times?
I feel that first, the coach has to approach the game like he approached every other game. You need to concentrate, self-belief, tell the players it is not over until it is over. So 3 points is all they need away from home. But when you talk about what the coach's contract situation is all about, he's been asked the same question this week in Lagos. And the same answer he's given is that, look, I've got a contract now with the NFF. I've got to ensure we prosecute these qualifiers, qualify for the Nations Cup. That's the most important thing. I do believe that if he qualifies for the Nations Cup, it sort of changes the conversation about if you let him go 6 months before the Nations Cup, it puts a lot of pressure not just on the NFF, but also on the team. It's a new man coming in, new training styles, new tactical analysis, new formation, and this could form some form of problems for the team going forward. But I do believe that in earnest and in truth, that the manager has done what he can do, because national team football, Sam, is a little different from club football. You do not have, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to prepare players. You're given just a few days, and immediately you need to quickly pass this message across to these players that this is the style we're going to use. This is what we want to use. Now, remember, like you said, a lot of these players that have been good season have played different sort of formation. So the manager has to put them together quickly to get this team running. So I do think that if he qualifies for the Nations Cup, the conversation would change a bit with the NFF.
With the NFF. Okay, talking about the NFF, just before I let you go, I need you to hear from the NFF or the former NFF president talking about Amaju Pinnick. And after hearing from him, I would like to hear your thoughts concerning what he had to say and how this, affects the team going forward. Amaju Pinnick, the FIFA Council member, speaking to the Super Eagles ahead of the match against Sierra Leone.
His first major trophy is not always, even if he didn't win the another, will be the AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire, and that's why I'm here. AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire will be his first major trophy. Forget all these places you see, Senegal, all those people. You are better than them. Who is better than Usimi? Who is better than Chikwueze? Who is better than Kenneth? Who is better than Awoni? Who is better than... Look at yourself. Go Musa. Who is better than you people? But on the pitch of play is what people will demonstrate at every point in time. You have a good technical crew. So by tomorrow, we are already qualified. I know that by God's grace on Thursday. So trust me, I will always be with my brother to support him. I will always. Like I told him, there were some things that we did that was not good. Show those things away.
Did you hear that? I would always bring my brother. It reminds me of a popular slogan. Who is your guy? Femi, okay, you have the floor. Shoot.
Right, yes, he supports the Super Eagles. Now, I know, Sam, this sounds a little different in terms of what he said, and I've had a lot of reaction on social media, but you cannot deny that he's always there to support the national team.
Yes.
And that's what he's gone there to do, motivate the players.
Okay, let's quickly take a look at what he said. He talked about the players believing in themselves, that no one is better than them, and more importantly, that the first trophy under the Ibrahim Gusso-led NFF administration will come in Ivory Coast next year. I'm talking about the AFCON Cup of Nations 2023. Do you think that's feasible? And considering our group of players at this point in time and the opposition as well, remember the Egyptians, the Senegalese, even Algeria will still be looking around in terms of pushing for a Final Four or the finals of the African Cup of Nations 2023?
Well, I do think it's possible. Look, we've seen teams, defy the odds. That's the word. Okay. And we've seen it many times. So I'm confident that Nigeria can. The manager believes the same thing, Jose Peseiro. He says his mission is to win the Nations Cup for Nigeria. That's a very bold statement. And for him to go all the way, he needs to build the team, get time with the team. We've seen many managers come through. The Senegalese manager, right, he had the same opportunity. There was longevity, had his near misses, including 2019, when they lost to Algeria, eventually going on to win it. So I do think that Peseiro can do it. Right? It's possible. He's got the players, like Amaju Pinnick said, Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, Ahmed Musa, Trustekong. We've got players. All we just need is Lady Luck and the right presentation.
In about 10 seconds, just as you leave, quickly, I'm putting you on the spot. If Jose Peseiro wins Nigeria the African Cup of Nations, should he be retained? And secondly, the match today, how do you see it panning out in terms of scoreline?
Well, if he qualifies, I think he should be given the opportunity to take Nigeria to the Nations Cup. For this game, I think it'll be a very difficult one, but I still see the Super Eagles winning by 2-1 today.